Hey there, good people. It's your girl, LadyM. Thank you once again for taking time out of your day to tune in and listen, kick it with me. You could be doing anything else in the world. You could be anywhere else you want to be, but you took some time to be here with me, and I truly appreciate it. So listen, good people. I've been sitting around, and I've been in my thoughts a lot, real heavy lately, just thinking about life and the dynamics of life and relationships and how important relationships are for your life journey. And I'm not just speaking, of course, romantic relationships, but I'm speaking of family, friends, co-workers. It's everything we do involves some type of connection or encounter or interaction with someone else. So that becomes some form of a relationship. And so I've been, I'm in the mental health field and a life coach and a connoisseur of thought processes, and I feel like my purpose is to be a change agent or, help people facilitate the changes that they want in their lives or whatever the case may be. So when thinking of that and just paying attention to what's going on in the world, there's been a lot of talk of recently more than in the past of narcissism and narcissists. And I'm not going to spend our time today talking about because narcissism, because I'm sure you all have heard enough about that. It's like everywhere on YouTube and in the media. And I'm coming today to kind of help shed some light, a different light on it, because I don't want my good people out here thinking that every little thing someone does makes them a narcissist. Or if something is uncomfortable for you or isn't the way that you want it to go or be going, that person is a narcissist. Narcissism is real. Narcissists are real, but everybody isn't a narcissist. So with that, I want to touch on the silence. And I'm not referencing the silent treatment. I'm referencing just plain old silence. You have people you'll come across who aren't very verbal. Not that they don't know anything or they don't have an opinion. They just don't speak much, don't use their voice much. You have others who speak too much. And you have some who can balance it out. So I posted on my Facebook page, I think it was maybe toward the end of last week, something in the regard of, is silence used as a form of protection or is it a cry for attention? And I got a lot of comments back referencing the silent treatment and narcissists using it to control. Yes, the silent treatment is definitely something that people use to control a situation, to get the outcome they want, to punish a person. And it's of course not healthy in a relationship, not recommended at all, because if you're not talking about what's wrong or what the problems are, then you're never coming up with a solution and you're never moving forward in that relationship. But I was more specifically speaking about silence. Sometimes in an argument or disagreement, one person may choose to just simply be quiet. And I wanted to hear from my people if they think that that is a cry for affection or attention from someone, or is that a form of protection, or is it something else? Again, I'm not talking about the silent treatment. I'll give an example. I have just recently began opening up and using my voice more. In my teenage years, I overused my voice, I believe. And then I went through a period of life where I kind of just got quiet. And I think now I'm kind of at a point where I may be able to balance when to be quiet and when to speak. So I'm going to speak on myself. For me, there are times and situations where I won't say anything. And part of that reason is because I'm an active listener. So I'm really processing and listening to what someone is saying to me because I want to understand. And I also want to be able to offer a solution. Or if they have me misunderstood or something misunderstood, I want to be able to speak correctly to help them understand. So there are times where I just won't say anything. But sometimes in those moments, my silence is a form of protection because sometimes my tongue can be sharp. And I know that's hard for you the people to believe, but those who know me know that when certain buttons are pushed or I've had enough because I'm very patient with reacting to things and giving people chances and chances to get things right or better or treat me better or whatever the case may be. I can have a sharp tongue in the moments of having my buttons pushed. So a lot of times I will, in protection of that person, because I also don't like to hurt people. I don't like to bring people down. I don't like to hurt feelings. I'll just be quiet. Then there's other times where I'll be quiet because I may feel that what I have to say cannot be received by the person who is listening. So to me, it's pointless to say anything. So that is another form of protection in itself. I'm protecting that relationship in those moments. I'm protecting that person from my harsh tongue. In a way, I may even be protecting myself from whatever they may say in retaliation to what I have to say. So I think that in some moments, people are quiet to protect. And I think that's a generous and noble thing for people to be able to do and to recognize when to do that. Now, after my silence, I don't remain silent and never speak again. And this is where the difference between a silent treatment and just being silent comes into play. I will, when I feel things are calmer and there's less tension in the air, I will come back and discuss those things that needed to be discussed or say those things in a better way than I may have said them in the heat of that moment. So it's kind of like I process what has happened and then come back and me and that person process it together and talk about it. It's very easy to mix that up, to mix up a person just choosing to not respond right now because it's the best thing to do for either them or the person receiving what they have to say, and the silent treatment. Now, a moment of silence for a few hours, maybe a day at the most, is, in my opinion, okay. And I wish I could have a guest on or get some feedback. But when you all hear this, I'm welcoming your comments to this in the thread. Please comment. Please let me know how you're feeling, because I can always piggyback and come back to it on another podcast and address it. I'm really trying to get you all to interact with me and let me know what's going on in y'all world, what's going on in y'all minds, what y'all want to talk about, what y'all want to hear about. But until then, I'll just keep letting y'all hear my lovely voice and hear my opinions, good or bad. But yeah, in my opinion, a few hours to a day, maybe two, of being silent can be that protection mode. And sometimes it can be a cry for affection or attention. Sometimes people get so down by what someone says to them, or they are beat down so much by people who love them. Their silence is their way of saying, help me, I'm misunderstood, do you see me? It sounds backwards, because you would think that someone would be screaming out and acting out for that attention, but that silence, those things that aren't said, a lot of times are much more important than the things that are said. And as growing people, it's important to sometimes hear what's not spoken. Those unspoken words can be so deep and so strong. We have people who commit suicide or fall into really deep phases of depression because nobody hears their unspoken words. And I know it's somebody listening that's like, how you supposed to hear and understand what somebody not saying? If something's wrong, they should just say it. But everybody isn't wired that way, and life just doesn't happen that way all the time. Some people just, because you may go through so much in life and you were never understood, and you may have said so many things and you were never understood, and now you've given up and you say, you know what, I don't even have a voice, it doesn't matter, nobody understands me, it really doesn't matter, I'll just sit in this corner and be quiet, I'll just live my life quietly, I'll just stay in my own lane, in my own little world where I'm safe and protected. So that's a double-edged sword of silence for the person who's crying for, who their silence is a cry for attention or affection. It's also a form of protection to themselves because they feel safe in that silence. They feel like they're the only person who can help them and hear them. So why speak? Why let anybody know? And it's really sad but true that a lot of people will, how many times have you been asked, how are you? And you just say, I'm fine, or I'm okay, or I'm good, because you know that the person asking can't help you with what's really wrong. Or nobody really wants to hear how you really feel. How many of us live like that, think like that, and move like that? So you do have to be selective in who you're talking to and who you're sharing with. But there are some people who just can't open up and share and talk with anyone because they have been damaged when they did speak up or speak out. Or they spoke up, spoke out, and were never heard. So it's pointless for them to say anything now. So I want to challenge my good people within the realm of my voice to start with those you love the most and those closest to you, and pay attention to those unspoken words. Let's start listening to what's not said. Let's start hearing those silent cries. Let's start encouraging those we love to believe in us and trust us enough and be trustworthy enough for that silent person to write you a note or speak up or share one thing with you. Start small because life is short. Tomorrow isn't promised, and everybody needs love, and we are all here seeking some type of connection. Even the loneliest person or the person who says, I'm good by myself, desires connection. It's how we're wired. It's how we're made. It's who we are. So let's do that, good people. And I'm going to end on that. Let's just listen for what those unspoken words mean. Let's dig deep and not hold everybody to a standard that we hold ourselves to. Or let's not feel and believe that everybody is wired the same and everybody should do things this way because this is how we like it or this is how we would do it. Let's just be a little more open and start listening for those unspoken words. Always remember, what you perceive is not the outcome. Don't get caught up in the humdrum. Enjoy the moments, good people. Enjoy them. Enjoy them. Enjoy the moments. And go get some. It's your girl, Lady M. Until next week, big hugs.